Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Collective. We have another fantastic show for you planned out today. Very excited new face, Katie Hernandez. Thank you so much for joining us. Matt, always good to see you. Sometimes Sunday, Matt, not semi
Hmm.
regular, Matt.
Yeah,
He missed
I got
last week. Got
I
to
got to bring
rebuild
my
it.
title back up. So I got to start from the bottom, work my way back up.
Good
Work
man.
your way
Yeah.
through it. That's the way to do it.
Conviction.
Now, while we're ragging on Matt a little bit, by all means, make sure you smash those buttons, hit the like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that good stuff. And you get your email every morning whenever we go live, which is, of course, every day. Now, if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, by all means, put them up in the comments section, just like this one, and we can engage them immediately. Winterstorm, good morning, team. Morning, Winterstorm. And with that, I'm going to jump to Katie. You want to give us a little quick rundown, 30, 45 seconds on who you are, where you come from, all that good stuff.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Katie. I am a captain in the United States Army. I'm getting promoted to major, so currently I am at major school at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. I've been in the military for 10 years. I've been EOD all 10 years, explosive ordnance disposal, so the Army's bomb squad, and I absolutely love my job. I continue with my military career. So I'll be in the next 10 years. And yeah, it's just me and my dog traveling around, being in the military. That's about it.
I love it. I love
Awesome.
it. That's a good life. You and a dog blowing stuff up. That's a good
Oh,
life
yeah.
in my book. Now, yesterday we were talking about osmosis and learning, and we got into the classroom type of inspirational cycle, I guess, in that Shaun was inspired to inspire his students. His students then took that inspiration, inspired each other, and they in turn re-inspired Shaun. Does that sound about right, Shaun?
Yeah, that's a pretty good logic loop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give a quick definition on inspire or inspiration, and then we can dive into the conversation as to how that applies to. Um, I just
Today's
forgot what I was going to
conversation.
say. Yeah, so,
Inspiring.
inspiration. Yes, no, I was going to say embracing the suck because we're still in that embracing the suck week. So I wanted to talk about how inspiration applies to that because it definitely does. So inspiration definition: arousal of the mind to special, unusual activity or creativity. The act of arousing to a particular emotion or action, a sudden intuition as part of solving a problem. And there's a whole bunch. I'm not going to go into all of them, but I really like this one. And it says a product of your creative thinking and work. And I thought that was quite interesting. But when I say the word inspiration or inspiring others, what are your first thoughts, Matt? I'm going to come to you first. What do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah, for sure. Um, the way I think of an inspiration is it's more the way you described it's kind of very short term, as in like, oh, I'm inspired to go do this, or oh, I have inspiration to solve this problem. But for me, it's more in being inspired for the long haul, right? Like I'm inspired to get fit because inspired to learn this course because, right?
Mm,
And for me, my biggest driving factor for inspiration is fear, and it's not afraid of doing what it is. It's the fear of failing or not having an opportunity to achieve what I could do, right? Like for me, it's not about one of the things is like not fearing death. It's more about fearing not living in the moment, and that makes me inspired to go do stuff.
interesting. Katie, what do you think when I first talk about inspiration?
Yeah, no, I like what you said there, Matt. Because I also try to look at everything in life as short, intermediate goals, or life is a series of choices that we make. And when you think about it that way, it's like you make choices all day, every day, and those choices eventually add up to the bigger picture. So basically, what you're saying, about the fear of not fulfilling, your capacity in life. That's added up by a series of those little choices every single day, from hitting the snooze button and sleeping in, or getting up and going to the gym, eating healthy and not healthy, what you choose to do in your free time, who you choose to surround yourself with. So when you look at it as life is just a series of those choices that you make every day, those choices tend to be a little more impactful.
Absolutely. Shaun, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, I think that there's two aspects to inspiration. There's being inspired and there's inspiring others. And I think that you can do the two of them simultaneously or in parallel, or perhaps you can separate the two and singularly focus on how best to inspire yourself, and then, the following day, how best to inspire others. But I feel that if you understand inspiration to some degree, I think in parallel you can achieve both of them simultaneous. That's basically my first thoughts on inspiration, whether you're doing it for yourself, whether you're doing it for others, or whether you're doing them both simultaneously.
Interesting. Now, as it is Embracing the Suck week, and we're kind of filling this in, I really wanted to just touch on this right away. Was where do you think inspiration fits into that? Where do you feel like perhaps you're inspired to embrace the suck and to get into it, or do you think that perhaps within the suck you get inspiration out of it? Shaun, I'm going to go back to you right away, and then everybody else. What do you think?
Sure. I don't think that I've ever embraced the suck to find inspiration. I just like embracing the suck. It appeals to me. But in so doing, I think that it can inspire others. Like, it wouldn't inspire me so much. I just look at the suck as the path, and the path is normal, and that's all good. But if there's something coming out of that externally for others, then that's kind of where I focus is. If I'm doing something hard and it's encouraging others to do something harder within their life, or encouraging others to pursue a bigger dream than they've got, then that's where I think embracing the suck has value for me. I guess I've just been embracing it for so long that it's not that I don't learn lessons in it. It's just that it doesn't inspire me to go do another day of suck, because I've got too many decades of it to need that kind of inspiration. So when I'm in it, it feels normal to me. I like it, but I don't do it to inspire me. But I think that the outcome of it is it can inspire others.
Katie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think those reps in those darker places are embracing the suck, if so to speak. I think that builds somewhat of a callus over time. And so when I think a lot of us have very similar personalities in that regard, we naturally tend to dive into those situations as opposed to avoiding them. And so for us, I feel like we have like a little bit of an advantage when life throws curveballs or hard things towards us, because we put ourselves through those repetitions so often that when bad things do happen, we're like, I can do this. I've been through worse. I can survive this. So I think, if nothing else, those reps are important, whether that's physical or mental or whatever. It doesn't have to always be physical. But I think, as far as looping it back to inspiration, I like to inspire by doing with people. So if I am preaching something, I need to practice what I preach. If I am telling somebody to do something, it's because I'm doing it too. I think that's really where those tying in like the hard aspects of life and trying to be inspiring at the same time. I think that's where that kind of folds together.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I kind of like what both were saying, because it kind of like fits together, like embracing the suck and being in the normalcy of the rough, right? I feel that too, is like when things get easy, I'm like, well, okay, it's got to suck a little bit more before I get interested, right? But I like what Kitty was saying about how it's callousing and that you go through it, and that is inspiring others too, because people who are not used to that level of stress or that level of pressure, they'll see like the slightest drop and be like, oops, we got to stop, we got to recess. And then there's me or someone else in the same with a little bit more experience or more calluses, just running right into the flames. It's like, hey, let's go do this, right? And then that inspires other people to realize, hey, maybe this doesn't suck as much as it does.
Shaun, you got any other thoughts?
Yeah, I'd said that to live an inspirational life, you can live it authentically, like naturally, without trying to inspire all of those around you. You can just be like a freak and on the freak train, giving her and not concerned with what anyone thinks. And through that process, you can inspire others, even though you're not trying to. You're just your freaky little train doing your freaky little thing, and you're loving it. You know, there's nothing.
On that train.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. However, I think all being military, we can understand that a leader's job, to some degree, is to inspire. And it isn't like a hard cast in stone that your first priority is when you're leading your troops. You have to be inspirational. But certainly it's like top 10. I mean, we can agree on that inspiration has to be in there somewhere in the top 10. And so to Katie's point, like I feel the same way, that the best way to lead, in my opinion, is to lead by example, is to be at the front leading. To if there's push-ups being done, well, I'm the one who's cracking out the push-ups as I'm counting them out for everyone around me. Lead by example. Be in the game. And so if you truly are in the game, if you truly are pushing the pace, if you are kicking that ass legit, well, you're going to inspire people through default, like as a outcome without even trying hard. If you just do you really well, you will inspire people. But again, as a leader, I think you can do it really well and passively inspire those around you. But at a certain point, there's a line where you have to determine how much you step over that line, to not artificially, but to start using the power of inspiration as a tool to kind of actively push inspiration. So again, to make a distinction, you can passively inspire by just doing you and not actively pushing it out there. Or you can actively inspire just by pushing a little bit in whatever fashion you want, whether it's through writing or speaking or performing or just kicking that ass, however you want to do it, and then add a little bit of verbiage to what has just happened so that you're actively pushing it out there. They're two different things. And I think that each leader has to find what is authentic to them at that point on the line.
Katie, got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, just being genuine. That is, it's amazing how hard that is for some people to just like be themselves. But absolutely, to just go out there and just like kind of be yourself and just be natural. Like your soldiers can see right through you if you're not being genuine. So I think you really nailed it with being authentic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Matt, you got any points on this?
Just kind of for Shaun, really, it's where's the point where it becomes naturally inspiring and you start getting into that whole coaching, inspiring and coaching. Like I know what you're saying is that you could be that dude, you could be that guy that everyone says, hey, let's follow him. But there comes a point where even just writing or doing podcasts and stuff like this could be passively inspiring for some random dude who just decides to watch. This is not actually coaching inspiring, but where does that hard line, or is there a hard line?
Well, for me, it's the line is constantly shifting based on who's in front of me. And so I think, let me carefully categorize. I'll call it passive and active inspiration. So in the passive inspiration sense, that's us doing us authentically, and whoever's picking up what we're putting down and they're considering that as inspiration through that passive action, yay, everyone wins. But the moment that you have to actively inspire, well, now it becomes kind of homework. Now it becomes like, now I've got a second job. I'm doing me, and then I'm doing inspiration. And for each moment, I feel that at least for me, each moment where I'm having to actively inspire, I have to be careful that it doesn't feel fake to me. So my bandwidth on like being Shaun and maybe being a partial freak, if it inspires people out there, well, I can't add an extra 10% freak onto it. It might only be like 2.5% to dial up that freakiness so it actively inspires someone. I can't push my inspiration mode so hard that now I know I'm faking it. And so with each person in front of me, it is a different ratio or a different equation. When I'm on that line and I think to myself, this is now about to turn into homework for Shaun. I'd rather hang out in the passive inspirational phase rather than going homework phase. But there's times where you have to do a little bit of homework with the inspiration aspect, I think.
Matt, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I like that. I like that very much so, because I agree the same thing. I mean, there's using the same terminology, passive and active. Passive inspiration, you're just doing you, right? And then people realize, that you're the leader, and I just keep on start following, right? But then you're right, where it comes to the active, and you're like mentoring or coaching or directing where that person goes to get inspired, setting up for their success. You're right, that turns into homework, and I wouldn't say a burden, but it is extra work on your part to get them going.
That makes sense.
And that's good work.
Oh.
I mean,
100%.
It's good work until it's not good work.
Then it's a chore.
Right? Yeah.
That's a good point. Katie, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I think like what you're saying is evaluating like your audience, recognizing what their gaps might be, and not just assuming that everybody knows what we know or thinks the same way. Trying to genuinely get to know the person and seeing where they're at and what their goals are and where they're trying and where we're trying, if we're actively and trying to inspire what our goal for them is, and trying to reach them on that level of understanding where we can be on the same page and be, okay, I'm going to meet this person here because that's where they're at, and then I'm going to fill in the gaps. And that's how one way, I guess, to like actively inspire is identifying those gaps.
Indeed. Now, any other thoughts on that? I
Yeah.
got a couple comments.
Yeah. I mean, Katie's right. Everyone is so different. I mean, the gaps in every person are radically different most of the time. And so a good leader or a good inspirer or a good coach or good mentor, if they're good, the key word is good, they will have enough bandwidth. They'll have enough gap filling ability to be able to deal with the situation in front of them without having to dial the rotary dial up to fake. But you've got to be in the game for a while. You've got to have experience to be able to have all of those gap tools to be able to fill it in authentically without turning it into fake mode. And so I think the tricky point, and I'll just use it's a theoretical model example, that a young leader, we'll call it someone who's been in the game for maybe 5 years. Their bandwidth is not that wide. And so there's probably a period between year 5 and year 7 to year 8 where they have some confidence, they have skills, they know that they can inspire, but they haven't fully developed their bandwidth skill set yet to be able to fill in all the gaps. So there's this really uncomfortable phase, this nebulous zone of where a leader is kind of sure of themselves, but they're unsure of themselves. They've explored and they've made mistakes, but they haven't explored enough and made enough mistakes to learn all of the lessons to have that bandwidth. And so I think, this is what I've observed, that there's a phase there as an inspirer or a leader or mentor or guide that in that moment, we'll call it a 1 to 2 year phase, for lack of a better term, a leader is unsure of themselves and how to play the person in front of them for the best outcome. And so sometimes, if they don't have all that skill set to fill in those gaps, they'll have to dial up their rotary dial to, I'm going to call it, a little bit of fakeness. And so, if you want to, I've seen it happen too many times to not say it isn't a thing. It's a thing. It's just a matter of how bad can it get in that phase? I guess it depends on how responsible the nebulous zone is and how much they want to dial that rotary dial up to an 11, to a 12, to a 27, kind of making it up in that period. So I think there's a tricky phase there as inspirers or as leaders. And what do you guys think?
Katie, what do you think?
No, I definitely agree. And I can definitely also relate to being a new leader, being a brand new LT and not knowing what's going on, but you're still in charge. It's tricky there. And I think at those times, like, you definitely have to rely on your mentors and your leadership to be genuine and be like, I don't know what the answer is. I need help. Sometimes it takes people a little bit longer to learn how to ask for help, especially in, the military organization. But as soon as you realize that everybody doesn't know everything and that you can't ask for help, and, when it comes to inspiring or being inspired, you can lean on, your mentors and, hopefully pass that down.
Now, I have a question about this too. Is that earlier you talked about like calluses and going through the rough times, and that kind of teaches you things. But also calluses not so much prevent, but they dampen connection, right? Like you can't feel as much through a callus. So I'm wondering, is that part of what we're talking about in that range? Between of like trying to figure out who you are as a leader and how you're going to utilize the skill sets, is like working those calluses back down so that you can connect with the people around you. Is that kind of what
That's
we're
a great
about?
point. And I really like the way you said that. I think right now, and I'm guilty of this, where I'm almost in that point where I'm like, okay, I'm almost too callous. I feel as though, like, if I had to reflect personally, I need to start removing some of that callus to make sure that, like, I'm still mentally, emotionally, I'm able to connect still. Like, been through some things at this point, but now it's time to face what you've been through, reflect on what you've been through, learn, not avoid things that you've been through, molding those hardships, those life situations into something usable in the future, not something that you tend to, push down and avoid. So I think at my point in my life, I can recognize that I think it's time for me to actually start removing some of those calluses to benefit myself and the people around me. So I think that's a great point.
Absolutely. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
Yeah. All I was thinking was, I don't think you have to remove those calluses because you've got fingertips. And those fingertips are quite sensitive to the moment, but the calluses on your hand are required to do the heavy lifting. And so I think they have to interoperate. Over a period of time, you've got to develop calluses. But those calluses can stay there for the rest of your life as long as you understand that you've also got to have sensitive parts of your hand as well. To when you're doing that handshake, sometimes you got to do a firm, calloused handshake, and sometimes it's got to be, it's got to be a little more connected in the moment, as it were. And so I don't think anyone needs to remove calluses. We just have to be aware that we have calluses and then use those at the right time. And so the other thing that I'd like to play with calluses, and this is not in reference to what Katie was saying, because she doesn't strike me as that egotistical, or you seem like you've got a good handle on humility. But those calluses can also be ego. And so over a period of time, those calluses can get bigger and bigger and thicker until your ego is the handshake, or your ego is the thing that is causing you to lose sensitivity in the moment. And so I would say that leave the calluses on the hand if they're created through hard work and experience. But if those calluses are ego, time to start shaving them down.
Matt, you got any thoughts?
No, I kind of like how this is going with the whole callus story. It's interesting. But one thing when it pops in my head is, like, when you got calluses, right? Calluses are the hard work, what's in the moment, it's going, that's what you're doing, right? But then for some reason, scars keep on coming into play in my mind about this too, right? Calluses can turn into scars, and scars can turn into stories. And those stories, when we were talking about the passive and active, I put down for passive, that's like your wisdom, right? You're just being the dude and you're sharing your wisdom, right? That's your calluses showing, I'm going to pick it up the stone and I'm doing the hard work. Where for the active, you're sharing your knowledge, and that's your scars. That's you're telling them how you got these scars, how you got these calluses, not in the act of showing these calluses. And calluses being the metaphor, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Katie, I saw you, something peek in your mind there as that was happening?
Yeah. I think for me personally, like I'm doing a lot of self-reflection over here. I think my arena of where I need reps is forming calluses, probably when it comes to dealing with emotions, talking about emotions, being okay with talking about emotions. And so I don't think I have enough reps and sets to feel comfortable doing that. I think you can apply this metaphor to a bunch of different things. I think personally what hits home is like knowing that I need some more reps and sets and to develop those calluses as far as being able to talk emotionally and being emotionally connected. I think that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Shaun, thoughts?
Yeah, and I think that a great way to seek inspiration to get better at inspiring is to broaden horizons or become a little bit more of a three-dimensional model. And so, as Katie said, she might have all the calluses in the world on a whole pile of different subjects and be amazing at all of those things. But then maybe her only shortcoming, for lack of a better term, is she needs to, get better at emotions, for lack of a better term. But how do you do that? Well, you don't do it in the trajectory that you're in currently, or it would have been done in the past. And so, and this is me not speaking directly to Katie. This is just Katie is the proxy to bring the subject up. So, if for someone out there who's thinking, there's just that one thing that I need to get better at. Well, get better at it by doing things completely differently. Get involved with a crew that has all the sensitivity, that has all the emotions, that has all the things that you're looking to improve on. And what is interesting, I feel, for military and veterans is we kind of tend to be a little insular or almost incestuous in our ideas of how to solve these kind of things. If someone says, look, I'm on the inspiration train and I've got it figured out like 9 out of 10, but I'm missing that extra 10%. And that extra 10% is based on I can't emotionally connect with people as well as I want to in order to better inspire. How do I do that? Well, get out of the veteran crew, get out of the serving crew and try something different, because if it was working for you already, it wouldn't be a shortcoming. So sometimes to step out of the arena into a completely different environment, whether that's competitive macrame or some sport or freaking frisbee golf, it doesn't much matter what it is. Get into something that is radically different for you that might fill that gap in a more effective and efficient manner to kind of close the gap.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Any other thoughts on that? I got a couple comments and a question for you guys, but if everybody's good, I can. Okay. So Winterstorm jumps in here and he says, traveling dog and explosion show. Awesome. Good days right there. Satch in Motion, good afternoon, team. Good to see you, Satch. Says, doing my best and maximizing my own skill sets allows for a mindset of inspiration, both for me and others. And it's a great way to look at it for sure. And then Winterstorm jumps in here. He says, when you don't reduce your life to base survival, you allow yourself to be inspired and inspire others. Do better to be better for others to be better. Any thoughts on that? Shaun? No? Good? Everybody? Okay. And then Carl jumps in and he says, I just spit my coffee on competitive macrame. So competitive macrame. I love it. So now my question is, we're talking about passive and active inspiration and, calluses and dealing, connecting with others. Where is social media's place in this? Because it is a huge angle to look at this, and we're using it right now, obviously. But where is social media being a tool in and of itself for this? How do we do it better? How do we utilize that tool to the best of its ability? Shaun, I know you got lots of opinions on this, so I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, my opinions are all bad, though. I don't know how to do this thing. I don't know how to do social media well. I don't know how to inspire on the digital platform as well as I want to. In fact, it drives me crazy because I suck at it, and I don't like sucking at things. So I'm super uncomfortable when it comes to social media and inspiration. If my life would be a whole lot easier if the internet didn't exist. And I could just bumble through the world doing my best and inspiring people as I walk past them at bus stops or whatever. But then the problem is now you're only inspiring one person per day. instead of maybe 100 or maybe 1,000 or whatever. And so 2 people per day is better than 1 person per day. And so that leaves the social media platform aspect, which again, I'm super uncomfortable on. But I see it not as a necessary evil, but I see it as a necessary tool that I've got to get better at while still being true to myself, because I am not into fake it till you make it. I got to be Shaun, and I got to do it on social media. So now I got to put myself out in front of the world every day and suck and make mistakes and try to get better. And hopefully through that process, people who have tracked my little journey for the last year or whatever, they will be encouraged or inspired to try and do it better than I am. Because I mean, I'm a bit of a gong show on the socials. And other people hopefully will look at what I'm doing and think, that dude sucks. I can do it better. And now they're after it. Whatever it takes to inspire people, that can be done in many ways as they see me bumbling my way through the world. They should be trying to outperform my bumbling ways. So I'm not trying to do what I do on social media in a fake way. I'm just trying to do. And then for everyone out there who thinks they can do it better, or if they think I'm doing it better and they want to match me, then freaking bring it. Bring your best to beat me or meet me or whatever the case is that brings the best out of someone.
Yeah. Katie, what are your thoughts on social media in this aspect?
Yeah, social media. I haven't been on social media from its inception. In fact, like in the beginning, I kind of dug my heels into it, not wanting, kind of resisting a little bit. And then through a few events through my life, my audience organically grew. And I have been approached by a few people that were just like, hey, people want to see who Katie is, not just, X, Y, and Z. Like they want to see other things. And I think back to your point, Shaun, like it's called imposter syndrome, where you're just like, I don't know if I'm the right person for this. Like why does anybody care what I have to say? And getting over that aspect of social media, I think, is probably the most difficult. Some people are very good at just posting whatever. Here's what I'm eating. Here's what I'm doing. I think maybe for people like you and I, it takes a little bit more of just like, okay, at least maybe I should just speak for myself. But for me, it's maybe if I can understand that people could be inspired by the way that I live my life, then I will feel more apt to sharing it. Because right now I'm still in a struggle of just like, what people want to know what I'm doing all the time. People have to like care what I have to say, like, and it's like a weird feeling of like me. And so understanding that your reach is, amplified by social media, and that you can inspire others, through your actions and what you're doing just by simply recording and putting it out there into the metasphere. Just kind of understanding that aspect, then you can kind of put your own personal feelings kind of aside and be like, okay, I'm doing this for the betterment of other people.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that social media is kind of like a smorgasbord of inspiration, and it all depends what you're looking for. It's a trouble if it's like fake, or if it's not what you're looking for, it's not the direction you're going for. But it's kind of like one of those things where you can pick and choose, or you can mix together and make your own plate of inspiration that you need as an individual, right? For people on the internet who are inspiring, I think they sometimes they get swallowed up by the fame of it, and they start going down that freak train way down too much, and a lot of fakeage, right, happening off of that. Katie, your imposter syndrome t-shirts in the mail, just so you know, we're all on the same page on that regards. I think it's really just being true, and the people you collect is the people that need to be following you by themselves, not you are pushing them towards you.
I really like this idea of an inspiration buffet, and my camera just turned off for some reason. weird. Yeah, an inspiration buffet. I think that's a great idea. It's just like a complete layout of whatever it is you want to be inspired by. It's out there.
I got a
Yeah.
question for Katie, because we talk over here on a not a constant basis but semi-regular basis about imposter syndrome, to which I claim that I've got 101% imposter syndrome, and I every single day that I get in front of this microphone, I just shake my head and wonder what the heck is even going on. But I do get in front of it every day, because I have my own reasons, and I'm not going to precede my question to you with my reasons. I'm going to ask you what your reasons are. Why do you get in front of the microphone?
Yeah. So for me, a lot, I would say 90% of what I like to do and tie into is mental health. So when I have days where I'm like, I'm not sure why I'm doing this, it goes back to awareness for mental health, especially within our communities. I love to talk about it. I love bringing awareness to the issues. I think it's one of the most underrated issues that we have. And I think it's gaining attention more so than it has in the past. But so, for example, fitness, nutrition, and, the tenets of, holistic health. If I can inspire people, to get to the gym, to eat a little bit cleaner, to have a better quality of life, that's always why I keep coming back. That's why I'm just like, why am I doing this? Why do I take the time, to post and make posts and photography and videography and all, like, why am I doing this? And it's like, because I want to inspire people to tap into that, holistic approach to health. And that's why I do it.
I like that a lot. Shaun, you got any follow-up?
I do. I have a follow-on question. And so I dig it. But now to the meat and potatoes of it. Do you feel that to date, your outcome or your efforts that you've put into it and the outcome that you're seeing, do you feel that it's satisfying?
I think I think I do fall short of reaching like that goal. But where I get my satisfaction is those personal DMs when people reach out and they're like, "You're the reason why I went to the gym today. You're the reason why I did this," or "Hey, can you check out this this fundraiser? I know this is your thing, and can you help promote this?" And like the fact that people know that I can be an outlet to repost and share and help gain awareness, like that's what's satisfying to me. As far as social media itself, I'm not sure yet. I think I'm still, navigating my way through social media and like really, okay, these are the benefits of social media. But what's satisfying is, those one-on-one connections that, when people reach out like, "Oh, I was having a tough day. Thank you for posting that. That made my day." That kind of stuff. That's what, is satisfying for me.
And one last follow-on question. So I don't know how much podcasting you do or how much public speaking you do. And I'm not talking about speaking to the troops. I'm talking about speaking to, the planet kind of thing. Do you do podcasting much?
I have done, depending on which era in life, I've done a few events where podcasts will pick up, and sometimes, I've probably done 2 in the last 6 months. Before then, probably a little bit more. But I do like these forums. I love this open discussion. I love the back and forth. And I think it's a genuine way to, like, instead of like a Q&A, it's a genuine way to get, messages across and say, have a voice in this forum. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, this goes into kind of what I was thinking was, I'm going to ask this question to everybody here because we're all on it. We're all on social media. We're all trying to do it better. Do you think that perhaps the difficulty with posting is that, at least for me, I'm thinking about it this way, is that I understand the importance of what it is that I'm trying to get across, and therefore overanalyze or perhaps analyze too much into what we're putting out there versus others who are just like, I'll just post this food and I'll post this plate and I'll post the sidewalk and I'll post the sun. And, like, do you think that that's part of it? I know for myself, I struggle with that in terms of I will overanalyze what it is I'm trying to put out there. And then by the time I get to what I want to get to, it's like 2-3 days later. And then I'm like, oh, well, now it's too late. Is it a similar process for you guys, or what do you think, Katie? I'm going to start with you, and then I'll go down the panel.
Yeah, I think I got some good advice because I just like you guys, I have been trying to get better about it. I think some good advice that I got were, try to find, 1 to 3 focuses for what you're trying to put out into the world. So, it could be like fitness, outdoors, whatever the case may be, mental health awareness. And then from there, trying to, when it comes to like a story, like trying to incorporate, a lifestyle, like you as a person. It's hard for me to say, but I guess people want to get to know you as a person. They want to see like what's behind the curtain, and that for me is uncomfortable. So I'm still building my calluses with that. I haven't even begun to tap into that lifestyle aspect of who I am, because I'm very comfortable at posting fitness, shooting, that things that I'm just like, that's just what I do. That's just I'm very comfortable. As far as opening up and like, oh, this is who I am, it's like I'm struggling with that. But I think if we could tap into that realm, that was some advice that somebody gave me. So
I like it. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, like I am totally guilty of the same analysis paralysis as you. Like I literally on my desktop I have like 3 videos how to take a strip loin and rip it apart, but I haven't posted it yet because I'm just sitting here waiting for that correct moment, I guess. I don't know. I do have 2 Instagrams accounts, as you guys know. One's more food and fun, and the other one's the more coaching lifestyle kind of thing. And I do struggle more with the lifestyle one because I always think to myself, if I post something, A, who is there to listen, and B, am I correct? And I don't want to give that false narrative or false hope or false information. And so that's literally slows me down in posting the more meaningful stuff for me onto the second on cultivated knowledge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Shaun, what about you?
Yeah. I don't struggle too much to put out content because my content is just me doing me. I could put out more content if I wanted to, if people insisted that I put out more content. I mean, most of my content is just me doing my life. It's not like I'm creating special moments where, I lease a supercar for the day and take all kinds of photos around it. I mean, that's just not me. But my life is what's kind of up on the interwebs to some degree. However, there are 2 things that I'd like to say. And one is when I first started this social media thing, a good friend of mine, his wife said, Shaun, you're a good storyteller. You should just tell stories. It's in your DNA. So just tell a story when you're doing social media. And she was right. And until that moment, I hadn't been telling a story. I'd just been telling facts or telling data or telling bandwidth. But I wasn't telling a story. I wasn't tying the human experience to the maybe inspirational information at hand. So the storytelling for me is the key. And so now I'm going to take that storytelling importance and then play it out in the sense of how it works well for me. If I've got to put out content, and when I say if I have to versus want to, if I have to, then I have to sit down and find a way, if I'm writing something, to write so that I enjoy my writing. So I'm kind of writing it to maybe inspire a little bit, but the process of writing whatever I'm going to writing has got to be a enjoyable process for me, where I like writing. I think I'm a crafty writer from time to time. So I like to craft. And so if I'm going to put out a post, I'm going to put my game within the game. I'm not just putting it out to the game. I've got to turn a game within the game. So before I put the content out, I've got to get all freaky in there with my own enjoyment, my own game within the game before I put it out to the big game. So I'd say for anyone out there who's looking to create content, whether it feels authentic to you or not, take the time to figure out how to make it fun for you. And so for Matt, with the stakes stake videos that he wants to put up, well, you know, I'm sure that he's about that far away from releasing them. But if he just did a little tweak on those videos where he kind of did one of those, oh yeah, that's awesome, I dig that. That's what it's missing, you know? We have to think that that's fun. We have to think that that's good, if you will, before we put it out there, I think.
Interesting. Matt, you got any thoughts on that?
No, but now the challenge is open to put those stupid videos
That's
up.
right.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Sean.
You mentioned it.
Yeah, no,
Just planting those seeds, buddy. Just
Yeah,
planting those
that's
seeds.
what we're here for, buddy. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're all here for. Just trying to inspire.
No, honestly, I like what you said, Sean, there about how you make it a game. You know, like you make it suck so that the sucker for someone else. No, it's true. Like when it comes to writing for myself, I'll whip up a Word document and just go crazy for like an hour. And it's like, here's this small little post and then blah, right? And I enjoy that too as well. And I think that for me is more entertaining, more pleasurable, more worthwhile to share than, hey, here's the sun and it's falling off a tree. I don't know, right? Yeah, no, I like what you said about that.
Katie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm learning. Thanks for that. I'm taking notes.
We're all taking notes. This is great.
Do you know something that you said, Matt, and I found myself in the same situation as well. Sometimes I'll sit down and I'll get a little too crafty, and I'll spend an hour being all super crafty, and at the end of it, I won't be satisfied with my mega craftiness, and I'll be like, I ain't posting that. That's dumb. How did I even get to this point where my craftiness is like irritating me? But guess what? That time is not wasted. Even if you don't post it up, you sat down for an hour and thought about things. You sat down and thought about things to a level that was deep enough to make you kind of, I can't put that out. Maybe it's too deep, it's too crafty, it's too whatever. Well, guess what? That's good stuff as far as I'm concerned. Whether it never gets on the interwebs or not, don't matter. That's quality time with you spent writing. And what is inspiration, by the way? Inspiration, we've been talking about externally and how to inspire others. How about inspiring ourselves? Inspiration is also an internal act where we can inspire ourselves through the act of writing, and no one ever has to read that writing. We're encouraging our inner creative, if you will. And I think everyone has some creativity in them to some degree, some more than others, and some haven't discovered their creativity yet. But through the act of trying to be inspiring to others, you can be inspiring yourself to be more creative in all aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm. And I like when you're bringing up writing, because writing for me is one of those things where, like, I got like so many journals just kicking around. That's like my nonfiction. I got like a fiction. I got a daily. I got like recipes. Like, there's so many journals. It's crazy around here. But writing for me is something where it's inspirational. It gets the thoughts out of the brain, so they're not spinning like a rabbit going crazy in here, right? So they're actually there, and it's something I can review later. Like, hey, 3 years ago, I thought about this and I've executed it. Here's now my success story of what I've done. And I literally have 5-year plans where it's like blocks of what I'm doing, and it slowly scales. And I'm able to go back and actually reflect on that. And it's inspiring to see what I've succeeded or what I haven't, but I can re-engage in a different level now that I'm more prepared or more learned about it. So yeah. And that's kind of like, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say, Sean.
That's clear ownership, you know? That's awesome.
Katie, you got any thoughts on the writing process or inspiring yourself?
Not so much. I'm not a huge writer, so to speak, but I do like to read, so maybe I'll just read some of your guys' stuff.
Shaun's got a lot of good stuff. So by all
I don't know
means,
about
read
that.
some.
Another thing that I'd like to add on this inspiration piece or internal inspiration. So when I started making an effort at social media, of course, the videos that I was putting out sucked. Everything sucked. I just sucked on social media. But I took it on as a personal challenge to get better. And so not to inspire others, but to get better at what I was trying to do. And through that process, if anyone's been tracking my videos that I've been putting out, my riding videos mostly, I couldn't freaking shoot videos well. They were terrible videos, man. Of course, I don't have like the big mega budget with the big mega team running around behind me on a mountain bike saying, whoa, let me get that shot with the sunshine in the background. That's just me with my camera on some dirt. I put it on a tree and I ride past it. Or, I mean, it's the Shaun show, the Shaun Gong show. But from a year ago, my videos sucked. But now I'm not pleased with them, but they're getting acceptable. And so that is me inspired by my own actions that through a timeline I can reflect back and think, yeah, all right. I'm kind of heading in the right direction, generally speaking. I don't suck as bad. So I can see a path forward. That inspiration for me as that reflection should also be in effect for anyone else out there who has seen my nonsense from a year ago and my nonsense from yesterday. And the delta between those two things is pretty big, I feel. And so if I can freaking do it, anyone can do it. Because I started from suck, and now here I am, like, reasonably acceptable. So I think that through our own actions, just trying to be better performers within our own life, to me, that's a pretty good way to inspire someone if they can look far enough backwards.
Yeah, your videos were awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like the riding videos have increased in technical skill quite a bit, and which is awesome. I do remember when you first started using slow mo, and he would like ride his bike past.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
And then it was all slow mo, and I thought it was hilarious because I don't know how many people realized it that he had to like get to that position, get off his bike, tie his phone up on a tree, ride his bike back up the trail, ride past the trail again. Then
it's ridiculous.
It was awesome. I thought it was hilarious.
But you know what is truly ridiculous for me in those moments was I was looking at that as so contrived, so artificial, so fake. I was like, man, if someone was out here standing filming me as I shredded past them, that's a whole different thing than me having to set up the camera and create this moment. And it was feeling contrived. But I came to realize that what I'm doing is what I'm doing. It's just being captured. I'm just going down a trail, putting my camera or my phone camera on a tree, and then riding past it, which I would have done anyway. And so now I'm trying to figure out ways to get all kinds of crazy out there with the video camera, to do freaky things with the camera that just don't even make sense to me. So I can explore my bandwidth, create a game within the game where I'm amusing myself as I create content to please me, and then put it out there to see if anyone's picking up what I'm putting down. And what I'm putting down is the difference between today and a year ago. And if anyone's tracking that, it should be pretty evident that even the village idiot can put a bit of time into things and put out not a bad product.
Well, I mean, you and I are here, still going, so
Still going.
we're doing pretty well. Now, I had one last question. I got a couple comments here. Any other thoughts on any of that before we move on? Everyone's good? Okay. So Winterstorm jumps in here. He says, I think you inspire others when you stop trying and begin doing. I think that's a great key point for sure. Satch Motion jumps in. He says, I think if we are to inspire on social media, we must also understand how and why people want to be inspired, and then attack from that vector, which absolutely. He also carries on. He says, I expressed my issues in regards to imposter syndrome with a therapist, and she responded by saying, you are an imposter if you're not taking action. If action is taken towards a goal, then by definition, you are not an imposter. which I think is pretty accurate.
Well, every day I'm fighting my imposter syndrome by showing up with disbelief. Still in the game, though.
Still in the game. And then Winterstorm jumps in. He says, further to my point, when we do triumph and fails rather than try, only when we believe we will succeed, we inspire. Mm-hmm. There's also there's a great quote by a very wise man. It is, try not, do, or do not. There is no try. Anybody can tell me who that is?
Yoda.
Dang right. I'm going to pull at Star Wars anytime I can.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Who said that?
You'd be surprised how many people don't know that one. And then Winterstorm 427 jumps in. He says, the Sean Gong Show. Not pleased with it, but it's acceptable. New merch idea. There you go. There's a t-shirt right there. Now, we got just a couple minutes left, but I want to touch on this is that, we talked about getting yourself inspired, but for those that feel completely uninspired, what would your guys' recommendations be for those that are really struggling with, trying to find that inspiration within themselves? What would your points be, Katie? What do you think?
Yeah, I read an article the other day about it was, if you had a choice to change and if it was life or death, would you? And the whole article is about individuals with, morbid obesity and people that have these, or smoking or excessively drinking or, people who are faced with lifestyle changes and, doctors and medical staff be like, you need to change or you will die. And it's the numbers in this article were insane. I'm not going to quote them because I don't remember them, but the majority of people, tend not to change. And so what does that say? We're comfortable. We don't want to change. Change is hard. Change is foreign. I don't know how to change. So I think it was a fascinating read just to, your life is on the line here and you're choosing not to. So inspiration to, people just who the article went on to say, people with structure and a support crew, support structure, those who had, people to turn to, people that support them, that's when the small majority of people were able to change, is having that huge support crew. So I would say, depending on what, those individuals want to be inspired to do, or just to get out of a rut or depression, identify people to hold you accountable to change, and make sure that they are, advocates, and they're in your corner and they are checking up on you. Those are the individuals that saw the most success as far as behavioral change.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what are you thinking?
No, 100% agree with the whole accountability partner. I think that's one of the most valuable tools a person can have for change, is someone to call them on their BS when they're going through that stage. Another thing too, for some self-inspiration and stuff like that, a lot of people get swallowed up by the big end goal problem, right? You're going to lose weight. You got to lose weight or you're going to die, right? Well, to lose weight, I mean, that's such a broad thing. I mean, what do you do to lose weight? There's 6,000 different ways you can do that. But if you just break it down to a small part, like today, I am not drinking Coca-Cola, not a brand reference. That is one step to get you closer. Tomorrow, maybe I'm not going to order fried chicken. That's another step, right? That's successes. And those little successes start adding up. And by the end of the week, you're saying, you know what? I successfully did this. I can do it again. And then you do it again and you do it again. But if you look at the big problem and you have no real reason or no small steps to get there, you might as well say, go fly to the moon and back. You got to have those small steps in that plan to get to where you need to go.
Mm-hmm. You're saying I can't fly to the moon?
Well, Chance, you can. However, you got to start.
Dude, your arms are big enough. You could almost flap your way there.
Dang,
so
right. That's what I was
true.
thinking.
That's
the bird
true.
will just fly. You
Yeah.
know? What do you think, Sean?
I think that I think both of the guests on the panel are correct. However, I'd just like to add a bit of granularity to it, because I know what Matt was saying was a pretty broad generalization. There are people out there that the moment that they say you can't fly to the moon, I'm freaking flapping my wings
100%.
like right away. And so there's a part of the demographic out there that is intrigued or encouraged or enamored with things that are crazy, the freak train stuff. And so I look at Katie and I think, I've never been in an EOD suit, but freaking I'll run a marathon in an EOD suit. If Katie can do it, I want to do it. I don't know if I can do it, but I know that some freak out there could do it, then I want a piece of that action. And so our inspirations, each person's inspirations are different. And I'm not going to target lock anyone into a tiny little box that says inspiration only works for you this way in that tiny little box. Because I've seen people that are in those tiny little boxes pop their little heads out like a gopher and think, ooh, I want a piece of that. Like right out of the blue, like unexpectedly. It's a weird moment in time where something just like twigs in their brain and they think, I want some of that. And it doesn't make any sense 5 seconds prior. But 5 seconds later, they've got a target in their head and they want some of that. So we need more Katies out there, as it were, to inspire people with these almost too big goals, these almost uncompletable things, these impossible actions that are in some people's minds. And that's why in my Instagram stories this morning, as I was thinking about inspiration, Muhammad Ali came up, and there's a quote from Muhammad Ali about his feelings on what impossible is, or isn't, more correctly. And so I think that mankind needs all kinds of forms of inspiration for all the kinds of people that are out there. So eventually it touches someone in a way that they need in that moment.
100%. Now, we are just over time right now, so I'm going to go around, get some final thoughts, and then we can shut her down for the afternoon. Matt, what do you think? What do you got? Final
Just to
thoughts
follow up
inspiration?
on, just follow up on Sean's point there about the freaks who pop their heads out. There's that concept too of the writing down your anti-self, the actual worst possible vision that you could be, and then striving not to be that. And I think that's a different conversation for a different day, but I kind of like where that one was going.
Interesting. Katie, final thoughts on anything we've gone over so far today?
No, I just appreciate this. I appreciate, I think this is the start of that, inspiration train that we're talking about, getting it out there, talking about it, hopefully, we can share this enough that people will watch us and be like, okay, now I'm curious as, what are my goals? What's going to inspire me to reach those goals? What are the steps I need to, get there? That's what this is all about, right? So I appreciate this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you being here. Shaun, final thoughts?
That's what it is all about. So, choo choo.
Time to jump on the freak train. I do really want to just say thank you so much, Katie. Really do appreciate the conversation. Matt, always good to have you on as well. Shaun, always a great conversation for sure. This has been inspiring. It's been inspiring.
There
I
it
gotta
is.
say. And the funny thing is that every day I think a lot of people see on social media the inspirers, those that are going out and wanting to inspire the rest of the crowd and want to be like, everybody follow me. But those people also get inspired when people pick up the train, when people jump on the train, I should say, when they pick up what we're throwing down. And I do really appreciate y'all out there. So appreciate the comments, appreciate the engagement. We're definitely going to carry that on. So as we continue to learn how to not only inspire others, we can build upon our own inspiration, and then we can grow into the people that we're meant to be. You can do that with us every day here on The Collective. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Chimo.